Debbie Wasserman Schultz on CNN's Anderson Cooper. She spent about 2 minutes lying about the Los Angeles Times, just totally misquoting the Los Angeles Times, until Anderson can't take it anymore. Listen.
I guess I don't understand why in a fundraising appeal you would, it seems, maybe accidentally, but you completely misquote the LA Times. You make it sound as if they're saying something that they're not saying, and you're using that as evidence to back up your position.
Anderson, it doesn't matter any way you slice it.
What matters, I mean, if you're misquoting the LA Times to say something they didn't say, you're saying it's proof of your position, and
Anderson,
it's actually not proof of your position.
Email. The reason that we sent out that email, and that we will continue to send out emails and reach out to voters, is we want them to know the difference between the two parties and the two parties' candidates on a woman's right to make her own reproductive choices, and that Mitt Romney has a very extreme position on that issue.
But just as you don't like being misquoted, I don't like being misquoted. I'm sure the LA Times doesn't like being misquoted to back up a position, your political position. I don't understand why you would need to do that.
There is no getting around. I'm sorry, there's no getting around that Mitt Romney, when he accepts his party's nomination for President of the United States next week, and they adopt that platform, which has no exception for rape or incest in it, that is Mitt Romney's platform. And, you know, to suggest anything else is absolutely ludicrous, and it would be different than any other previous party convention.
Do you at least acknowledge that the quote that you gave from the LA Times is completely incorrect?
No, I don't acknowledge that. I know that's what you're saying, but
well,
what
I can read it to you right now. I mean, what you said is, guess what? The LA Times reported yesterday that the platform
what I'm saying,
was.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I think what you say does matter. You're quoting the LA Times, and again, you've misquoted them, and to back up a position. I mean, if
the point, Anderson, the point of the email, and there's no getting around that, and I would think you would agree that there's no way that a presidential candidate, a party's nominee, can separate themselves from that party's platform. There is no exception for rape or incest in the Human Life Amendment.
Right.
But he hasn't insisted
himself.
that his own party's platform, but no, he hasn't, because he hasn't insisted that he had an opportunity during the drafting of that platform language to make sure that his own view, if that really is his view, is in that party's platform's language.
That kills me. Now he's extreme on abortion. Everybody else is like, okay, the guy was for abortion like 25 minutes ago. He's an extremist on abortion. I love this. They are so desperate.
Yeah, well, especially since Mitt Romney's position on abortion is right in line with about 80% of America, because when you add the exception for rape and incest, almost all Americans agree. Almost all Americans. The reason so many Americans favor abortion is because of those exceptions. If you're raped, they think you shouldn't have to carry it to term.
And life of the mother.
And life of the mother, of course, which is pretty rare in this day and age. But that's another exception he carves out.
It is your wife. Your wife is under threat every time she's had a child.
Well, yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
She has that weird blood disorder thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does happen, and what?
That's just a nice way. She's that
weird blood disorder thing.
Well,
weird wife has that weird blood disorder.
I don't remember what it's called, but it's that where the baby's blood fights, the mother's blood fights against the baby, thinking that it's an infection.
Yeah, and it's more danger to the baby than to the mom. But yeah, it's a weird antigen thing.
Yeah.
Right. But I think everybody agrees on that. I mean, when you're talking about trading one life for another, you're going to have to make a choice in theory, and you're going to go with the mom probably. But I mean, it's certainly a different story. No one's arguing that.
And that's the crazy thing. They have to make even Mitt Romney, who the problem with the right is he's not extreme enough.
Oh yeah.
Not on abortion, but on almost every other front. Did you see, by the way, that the GOP is putting it didn't say a return to the gold standard. They said a study on the return to the gold standard in the platform.
Wow.
Excuse me? Wow. I mean, tell me, Tea Party, that you guys haven't made a difference. Tell me, Ron Paul hasn't done jack with the Republicans. Not jack. And they keep just dismissing out of hand. Well, Romney is going to be the worst thing since sliced bread. He might be. You know what? He might be. I actually saw some clowns last night going, Ron Paul, he could win this thing. We should still try to...
No, he doesn't even think that.
What is wrong with you?
I mean, this shows, I think, some influence from the Ron Paul argument.
Big time.
Yeah, it does.
Big time. And it shows...
And there's Audit the Fed in there, too.
Yes,
right?
and it shows that Ron Paul's arguments are permeating the American people. Look to your successes. You have moved in the right direction. Now, the argument, and I can guarantee you it will come from Romney and everyone around him, is we can't go back to the gold standard because you would never be able to afford the lifestyle that we all have. Well, I got news for you. We can't afford the lifestyle we have now. But they keep thinking that, that you have to have, there's not enough gold to be able to finance everything that we have going on in the world now. And so it doesn't work. That's the argument against it. The argument for it is, this isn't working. Maybe we should scale back our lifestyle. But it's something that I would love to hear a serious conversation on, where somebody in the banking industry is really making the case and says, this is what life looks like on the gold standard.
I would like to see a serious study done on if it's possible that you could find a worst spokesperson for your cause than Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Is it humanly possible? Like if a person was speaking another language or gibberish or flailing their arms around as they
No, because you might think they're making a good point in a different language.
Right, and that's the issue.
You just don't understand it because you don't know that language. With her,
you do understand.
You do understand. She's just a totally butt-stupid buffoon.
God. Yeah, at one point he goes, look, you've misquoted the LA Times in this fundraising email.
Anderson.
And she goes, Anderson. The reason that we have sent this email out and why we will continue to send emails is no one's questioning your right to send emails. We're saying you shouldn't lie in them. It's not the electronic mail part of the email that we're worried about.
I love the fact that she goes into the one thing that won't change is the fact that...
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait. Listen to Anderson's point here. You're using a lie to back that up. Mm-hmm. And then when we say that's a lie, you say, yeah, well, whatever. But what doesn't change is the theory that I have nothing to back it up with.
Yeah. Okay, that's what's very specific about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and very few people can pull this off. She will walk through the lie. Every human being, when you say something and you know it's untrue, you have that internal instinct to be like, oh, you feel squishy about it. You're like, I really shouldn't be saying this, but I feel like I have to, or whatever.
Yeah, you remember?
She doesn't care.
Yeah, do you remember when 60 Minutes no longer is good because nobody sweats on TV anymore?
Yeah.
You're like, did you rape and murder all those people? What? Look... What hasn't changed is I have a sweet life. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Before it was like, hey, did you do that? And you're like, no. And people felt bad. Now people just don't feel bad at all.
Right. Like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she was accused of, murdering a bunch of kindergarten students. She would be on 60 Minutes denying she did it while there was still a toddler arm on her shoulder. Like, there'd just be, like, one toddler arm on her shoulder, like a head rolling in the background. She'd be like, I didn't do it. What are you talking about? I never sent those emails with the quotes from the LA Times. She has it's like almost a superhero power to deny the fact that she's lying. She is a fascinating character. I mean, she's sitting here over and over again.
I don't believe that's a superpower. I believe that...
It is. It's inhuman. It's an inhuman power. Because people...
It's a sociopath.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's some...
I don't think you're... It's
at least some sort of medical issue.
Sociopath man.
Yeah.
I don't think that's...
But it's something... She's conquered something in the human character. That's something to really marvel at. She's gone beyond... People can't do what she does.
It's
John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy.
Yes.
John Wayne Gacy, baby.
It's called sheer evil.
Maybe it is.
It really is. It really is the mark of a sociopath when you don't care when you're so disconnected from reality that you don't care anymore, and you can say anything or do anything, and you do it without regret.
Like, she's literally...
Look up sociopath.
Yeah.
I think that's would describe Debbie Wasserman Schultz, as Stu says, superpower ability.
I think it is. I mean, she has somehow created something inside of her where this mouth that she has is disconnected to the rest of her torso. This voice that comes out of her has no connection to her character at all.
Here's our
How else could she live with herself?
Our sponsor.